All right. So, hey everyone, I'm Parker Mcgee. I'm from Pardot, which is part of Salesforce here in Atlanta. I want to talk today about a case study on a project we did to remove solar from our stack and what we learned from it about leading change and what I think every organization can learn about leading change. So at Pardot, we had a problem. We were spending a ton of bandwidth on incidents, and that bandwidth was just operational incidents, and we needed to get out of that cycle. And we looked at the numbers, and it turned out that solar was a big problem for us. It was causing lots of incidents, and we were honestly using it wrong, and so we wanted to get rid of it. And so don't get me wrong, solar is a fantastic tool. It is a great full-text search. There we go. It was a great full-text search engine. But really what we were using it for, we were using it to replace a lot of indexing that you should be doing in MySQL. It was a very complex system. It wasn't a great use case. And so really we just wanted to rip it out. But we had a lot of uses. And so we had to rip it out, and we really needed to make it a side project. We didn't have the bandwidth. We couldn't pull a project off to make this a full-time effort. So we really needed to make a side project. And the problem with side projects, you guys probably all know, is when you have a side project, you often end up with lone wolf developers that go off and do their own thing. Things aren't documented, things aren't done correctly, and you often end up in a worse case than you started with. And so we couldn't do that. So we turned to 3 steps. We obtained buy-in from everyone in the organization. We created small wins, and we removed barriers to completion. These 3 steps were crucial to getting this project completed and to have a successful result. So the first step, obtaining buy-in, is super crucial in any change that you make, but it's often the one that's most overlooked. It's the step that gets everyone together to work on something, and without people working together, you often end up in a bad situation. And so we had developer, we had operational buy-in, because that was pretty easy. We were tired of being woken up at night. But we really needed product buy-in because we had to rework some features, rethink some things. And so product, because they're awesome, because we have a great engineering organization, they came to the table quickly, started interviewing customers, started talking to customers to see what the problems were, to see what was going on. And so they came to us with some action plans, and that led us to step number 2, which is creating small wins. And so we took a look at the action plans, and we really wanted to create some momentum, create some movement behind what we were doing. And so the first project we took on was a really pretty small thing. It was a back-end query that was hitting solar, and that query we ended up kind of map reducing to MySQL essentially, and it ended up being a huge win for us. And because of that, we were able to get a lot of good executive buy-in, good leadership buy-in. They started seeing, okay, well, we can actually do this. We can actually rethink some of these features. And they really supported us, and that helped the process. So we took that momentum, and we went to our second project. Our second project was a front-end solar query that we had to remap to some back-end processes. And I'm not going to lie, this project was a pretty big slog. It was hard. We had to take a front-end request, map it to back-end, so we had to recreate some alerting for users. We had to rethink what we were doing. But we took that momentum from the first project, and it really carried us through that slog to get us a success in the second project that we had. And of course, any project has barriers. And so that leads us to the third step, removing barriers. By working together and by keeping the momentum high, you quickly get through a lot of your barriers. And that was it rang true. So an example of that is our third project, where we had sorting. It was kind of arbitrary sorting on a data table. That was backed by Solar because it was a huge MySQL table. And we really needed to rethink what we were doing there. So we tried taking some the Solar queries, tried putting them against MySQL, it didn't work. So we went to our product managers and said, hey, can you help us rethink this feature? So they came back to us with some great thoughts, some great use patterns from the users, and we were able to map that really easily to some graphs. And because they're graphs, they're really easy to aggregate the data, really easy to rethink it. And so we coded that up, got it out there. It was a huge success, and we were no longer using Solar. So we got to decommission Solar, and the month after we decommissioned Solar, we had 60% less incidents than the month before. That's like a huge, huge win. The project was a huge success, and it was because we obtained buy-in, we created small wins, and we removed barriers to completion. And of course, like any good dev team, we celebrated with cake. And you can too. Thanks so much.